One of the most successful and beloved YouTube channels of the last decade just stopped. Not because it failed, not because the creator lost passion, but because it exceeded maybe a little too well. Today I want to talk about what the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel quietly teaches us about YouTube burnout and why so many creators, even wildly successful ones, eventually walk away. And more importantly, I want to show that there's a third option most creators never realize that they are allowed to build. This isn't a critique, nor is it drama. If Luke Nichols ever watched this, I hope he feels honored, because this is about preserving the good while eliminating the bad. So let's talk about the hard truth that the Outdoor Boys proved about YouTube's success. Now, the Outdoor Boys is a personal favorite of mine and my boys. My wife loves it too. We love the Outdoor Boys content. The first episode I ever discovered was actually Luke building a snow cave deep in the snow and camping overnight in it, and it was just so fun to watch. My boys loved it, and it actually became a tradition for our family in the evening to watch Outdoor Boys episodes. Now, we try and keep all content and media in our home family friendly. We try and eliminate swear words, and we want to watch content that's uplifting and teaches family values. So what's great about the Outdoor Boys is it checks all those boxes and it's loved by everyone that watches it. One other thing, because we live in a day of age of video games and computers and everything on our phones, it's so good to have encouragement to get outdoors. So because my family watched a lot of these things, we tried out some of the adventures that they went on. We even tried some of the campfire recipes that they did in their episodes. So early in 2025, Luke posted a video stating that he was walking away.
Hey everyone, this is going to be my last video for a little while.
That he was going to really put the brakes on his YouTube channel. And he explained some reasons why. One of the reasons was time. He said that he was putting in about 60 to 70 hours per week towards this YouTube channel. Now, for most of the time, this was one episode every week, and they were great episodes. So he was putting in 60 to 70 hours towards that one episode per week. For roughly the last 6 months of posting regular episodes, he actually slowed down to every other week. So we could sense that he was starting to experience that burnout. But it wasn't just the time that was causing the burnout. His channel actually went viral pretty quickly with some of the videos, and he gained millions and millions more subscribers, and he was getting exhausted by the public recognition and the recognition for his family and what that meant about him being able to go out in the public. And we'll talk about some of the other difficulties that he's mentioned as well, but it's very clear he didn't fail, he didn't do anything wrong. What he created though, and here's the distinction, what he created is an incredible job, not a business. So you'll hear a lot of YouTubers talk about they turned YouTube into a business, but they don't understand the difference between a job or being self-employed and creating an actual business. What Luke created is an amazing job. Now, many creators YouTube fall into this same trap. They stay self-employed even when they get to a very massive scale. So we're going to have a contrast because some YouTubers have really found a way of creating a true business, and so you'll understand that as well from this episode. Now, it's very common for creators to be stuck here and have a hard time getting over here into the business owner side. One of the things that you'll commonly hear them say is no one can do this as well as I can, right? Whether it's the filming style, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the editing or the thumbnail design, they have a really hard time of getting help and having people help them in that or creating a system around it because they've learned how to do it and they want it done a specific way. Or another way that they look at it, kind of the thinking that they have, is that hiring someone to help them will ruin the channel. You might hear phrases like, oh, he's a sellout. When I hear that from viewers, I do feel a little bit like pushing back because, see, somebody from a viewer's perspective, like me, let's say I'm watching Outdoor Boys, I come back every week and I get free content. I'm not paying for it. And then Luke here is putting in 60 to 70 hours a week, making this amazing content to entertain me. And yeah, I mean, of course, I want that. And then anytime we see a creator do something to help monetize his channel or help benefit himself, make a living for himself, viewers will call that selling out. And in my perspective, That's not very fair. Okay, if I start hiring people and turn this into a business, I'll lose the essence of the channel. It'll ruin my channel. Now, this is coming from me, a producer of over 60 different YouTube channels. I've got a team of 35 people, so I do see things differently, and I fully understand that. And the content that I create is much easier. A lot of the videos are just like this, talking head, so we're not creating the epic adventures that Luke created. We can film multiple episodes in a day compared to filming one episode all week long. But regardless of the style of the video, one thing that's really time consuming is the editing. Even with talking head videos, if we're making a 10-minute video, it might take a couple of hours to edit that video. And certainly with a Luke Nichols Outdoor Boys style video, those will take a lot longer to edit. So editing takes a lot of time. Now, editing is one of the easiest things to delegate. You can easily hire other people to edit in your style. Yeah, they've got to be trained, right? So you can hire somebody that is a very skilled editor, and yeah, when they get to work on your video, they're gonna do things differently. But the difference between somebody who's self-employed and somebody who's a business owner is a business owner has created systems. They've been able to take the process or system that's in their mind when they do the editing and write it out, kind of explain in words or create some type of training or something that really explains what they're going for. Now, as I've hired different editors, because I have a whole team of editors now, when we hire somebody brand new, I'll typically hire 2 or 3 people at the same time. And I don't bring them on as a full-time employee right from the beginning, but I say, hey, I'm gonna hire you for a trial project. You will be paid for this trial project. I'll show them these are the starting materials and this is what a finished episode looks like. So here's some starting materials. See if you can create the finished product that we're looking for. Now, if they do it in a timely manner, if they're great at communicating, and if they can get 80% of the way there, I know we're off to a great start. So the reason that I hire 2 or 3 people for just one position is it allows me to assess the different projects. I'm gonna pay all of them either way, but it really lets me know who do I really like working with, who's the best communicator, who works the most efficient and timely way. And if they get to 80%, then I can take it to the next step and say, okay, here's some critiques. Here's what I would change. Here's what I do differently. Here's what I would add. Let's see if you can get it to 100% now. And if they come back and they're at, say, 95%, wonderful. So you're going to do training and training. I would then hire the best videographer or 2 for a trial week. So then I'm going to give them several video projects throughout that next week. Now this system is going to be slightly different for a channel like Outdoor Boys because they're filming all week for one episode, where we're launching 5 episodes a week on many of the channels I produce. So instead of saying hiring them for a trial week and editing a whole bunch of episodes, it might be editing a whole bunch of sections or whatever that looks like. But from the first project that they got to 80%, they eventually get to the point where right out the get-go they can get up to 90%, and then eventually to 95%, and eventually they get to a point where they're at 100% of my approval. So it's totally possible to delegate 100% of your editing. But think about if you just delegated 50% of it. What if you hired somebody to get you 80% of the way there, and then you went in and finished the rest? I mean, that's still a big time savings. Now here's another challenge that the Outdoor Boys faced, and I could see it, okay, because a lot of his adventures became more and more epic, and some of the even build projects that he would do became more and more grand. And I get it. I mean, when you have a certain video style, you post that video to YouTube and it takes off and it does super well, then you kind of know it because you can compare it to all the other different types of styles of videos that you've made. The one that's most successful, you feel like, okay, to keep my channel going, I've got to do another epic thing, and I've already done that, so I've got to take it up a notch, and I've got to take that up a notch, and got to be more extreme. We're going to go up to the Arctic Circle to do winter camping. And so things like this Luke did, and it was sure successful on his channel, but it was forcing him to take more time away from his family. And a lot of times he would take his family or his boys with him on these camping adventures, but the more extreme they were or the longer they were and he had to pull them away from school or homeschool, it just meant that it was hard on him. It was separating the time that they were spending together as a family. And because these adventures became more and more epic, you could tell he was getting tired. He would have injuries, or he'd have a really sore back and he'd have to take Advil, or he'd be out there for multiple days and not really sleeping well at night. So then he's got to travel back home and he's got to then still do all the editing and stuff, and it just becomes exhausting. And when you have a successful channel, when you're financially successful and you don't depend upon it, you're kind of thinking, maybe I could take a break. So I understand why he stretched his episodes instead of weekly to be every other week. So when every episode on your channel becomes epic, it's not sustainable for any human being. I mean, you have to go from self-employed to a business owner to be able to keep that going. It's the only way. Now, I'm talking about the difference of self-employed and business owner, and it's just a semantic, but it's an important one because YouTube kind of gives you the opportunity for a business, but most people never finish building an actual business from it. Now, this opportunity is amazing. YouTube removes many of the barriers in getting started because you can just become an independent contractor with YouTube. You don't have to worry about the advertising. All you do is focus on creating the content, and a lot of the other channels are already set up and YouTube just sends you a check. So it's very, very appealing. You don't have to worry about distribution. You don't have to worry about billing or building any type of infrastructure for this. But as the creator, there are some things that you can build to turn it into a business. You need to create systems and document those systems. You've got to decide who's in what role and setting up teams. If you do everything yourself, think of it this way. Every creator that doesn't have systems, they become the bottleneck in their business. Everything is dependent upon them and they will eventually burn out. So now let's contrast the Amazing Outdoor Boys channel with another channel that I have followed for a very long time, over a decade. I'd say 13, 14 years. I've been following the channel Veritasium with Derek Muller. Now, I have specific data about his channel and his transition from being self-employed into a business owner. He's made that public. So this isn't theory, these are facts, okay? So he made $840 in the year 2011. That was kind of the first year that he went into this, and that's how much money he made in a full year. So Derek did everything himself for many years, and he followed that same burnout curve. But then in more recent years, he actually partnered with another company and they helped him transition to being a business owner.
Most importantly, with fewer working hours, I would have a lot more time to spend. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I signed the deal in April 2023, and since then, Veritasium has been owned and run by me and Electrify.
So he stayed an owner, but he offloaded the hiring, the HR, the compliance, all the logistics, and the result from it is he now has over 30 people on the team. The upload frequency has remained unchanged, and get this, the quality of the videos has increased. So what do I mean by that? Well, the amount of research, it's a science channel, it's amazing.
I can show you what we have done. We have produced some of the most successful videos in the channel's history.
Some of the topics, like on nuclear mechanics or whatnot, goes way over my head, but the depth of research and the amount of time and energy you can tell that goes into each of these episodes.
The 3 videos you collectively have spent the most time watching were all produced in this period. The videos on forever chemicals, blue LEDs, and black holes, white holes, and wormholes.
That's gone up in recent years. And this is the metrics that you really track. He's had a 50% subscriber growth since transitioning to a business from being self-employed.
Videos like these have steadily increased the amount of time that people are spending watching Veritasium. In fact, the last 4 months have seen a record amount of time that people are spending watching the channel.
So the channel has grown and their videos have record watch time, and yet Derek's personal workload has really decreased. He's gotten a lot of his time back. So in thinking about the impact that Derek's channel has made in science and getting people excited about it and even educating them on physics and whatnot, his move to step away protected this level of impact. So when we're talking about burnout, it's not a passion problem, it's 100% a systems problem. So the first delegation for most YouTube creators is hiring, right? For editing. That's where I'd recommend that you start. But instead of asking, okay, who do I hire? I want you to do something first and think about, okay, what of all the tasks you do from editing and everything, what drains you the most? And how can you document it? If you can create a system, then it's going to be much easier to hire somebody to run that system. You might have heard the term of an SOP, or a standard operating procedure. An SOP turns something like only I can do this to a position of anyone can do this. One of my favorite things about the Outdoor Boys channel, because I've already mentioned several, but one more, is the values that he quietly modeled throughout this channel very powerfully. So Luke's influence went far beyond entertainment. I really believe that my family watching the Outdoor Boys strengthened our family, and it helped us do other activities that strengthen our family as well. Well, specifically, in the last 2 years, I can think of a camping trip that my family wouldn't have done had we not been inspired by the Outdoor Boys, and some of the meals that we cooked were inspired by it, and the kids participated in the cooking of those meals. Also, on a trip that our family already did to Florida, we did an excursion that is very memorable. We had a lot of fun. We went night crabbing. We had no idea that something like that existed, but we saw the Outdoor Boys do this, and we signed up for the exact same excursion. So I need to say, yes, you can tell that I'm very sad that the Outdoor Boys channel has stopped. I do want to be clear, like Luke doesn't owe the world anything. He doesn't owe me anything. So the real tragedy is not that Luke quit, but simply that creators like Luke don't realize that there's a third option. That third option is keep all the good things that are about it, but if there are bad aspects of what you've got here, eliminate the bad. In business, we might use the word leverage, so you can just build systems to create leverage. If there's one thing I hope this video does, it's this. I hope to give creators permission to stop choosing between burning out and walking away. Luke showed us what happens when YouTube becomes your entire job. But Derek showed us what happens when YouTube finally becomes a business. So that distinction, self-employed versus business owner, is the difference between exhaustion and longevity. In my next episode, I'm going to link to it right here. I go deep into the exact transition. I show how to move from being self-employed to building a real business that can grow without consuming your life. So if you want YouTube to support your career, your family, and your values instead of replacing them, I'll see you in the next episode. It's called How to Go from Self-Employed to Business Owner. I'll see you there.